And then this weekend, we headed to Nottingham Forest. This match happened yesterday as we record our second consecutive scoreless draw in the league. That's not a trend I'm super enthused about.
No, and it is kind of frustrating that the two teams, I mean, Liverpool, the Liverpool one in some ways was frustrating because, of course, we're now a loss and a draw against Liverpool this year, which is annoying. With Forest, though, it is a loss. City Ground it's definitely been a bit of a boogie. I was going to say boogeyman, but definitely a tough. It's been a tough place for us. We've dropped a lot of games there, or dropped a lot of points there over the last few years. They knocked us out of the FA Cup there, and back when they were still in the Championship. Like that's always been a place we struggle when we talk about like comparing results from years past. Away to Forest is one of those where we just seem to drop points, which is again frustrating. And I have to say, well, we talked a little bit about Chelsea and how strong the lineup was. It was basically a top, first choice lineup with the exception of Kepa in goal. Raya was in goal for this one, but we definitely made some changes in terms of the front line. Saka sat and Trossard sat for Martinelli and Noni Madueke. And I mean, it just didn't work, did it?
No, I mean, for one thing, I guess I would like to know what is the status of Calafiori or anybody else. Like, I guess we know Miles Lewis-Skelly is healthy, but not playing for other reasons. But is Calafiori going to be back anytime soon? Do we have any update on that?
At some point, he'll be back. I will say there was a comment. Christian Mosquera did make the bench in this one, which was
I didn't notice that. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, so I presumably Calafiori will come back soon, soon-ish. I don't know I don't recall hearing a timetable particularly on him at the moment or recently. So obviously, that would be good. I mean, I do feel like we're kind of like Timber's not bad, but Timber's definitely better at right back than he is at left. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a little tough to see there. But I guess I look at this and say Timber isn't the problem there on the left. I thought Martinelli was okay. I thought Madueke had a couple of good moments and also a lot of not good moments. And frankly,
that corner kick, I called him out as having really good corner kicks last week. And this week, that one, if it was just another couple feet, so it cleared the near post, Martinelli was there. That would have been a strong opening goal.
It could have been, but he doesn't even reach the first post. Yeah, it was just, I think it's interesting because it says a little bit about where this one stands in the pecking order. Again, we've talked about the difficulties of the travel, 4 consecutive games in different competitions in this constant stretch, basically since Christmas of 2 games a week. It's going to be another month. Basically, we're going to have 2 months of 2 games a week like this. I mean, we played in midweek and Forest didn't. So I think, it's interesting to see the rotation. Obviously, what it says about how important the game in Milan is on Tuesday, knowing that Saka was not going to be starting in that one. He's, of course, sort of the key piece there. But then again, Rice and Odegaard started. We're going to go. I assume the hope wasn't that they'd go 90, and ultimately Odegaard didn't. But yeah, I think there was a sense that this was a game. This was a game we were going to put a little bit less stock into than the cup semifinal with Chelsea, and then the Champions League game, which in the grand scheme of things, I get. We sort of talked about how do you balance those different competitions and what's important and what isn't. The league, the League Cup, the Carabao Cup now being a semifinal, the trophy is close enough. You can see it. Yeah. Whereas this is here in the Premier League, you're kind of in that slog of games, and we'll talk about the result a little bit as well. But yeah, this one, it's tough because this one just didn't really work to the tune of 0 shots on goal in the first half.
Yeah, it's not great. Things definitely picked up once we made the triple sub midway into the second half. That was to me where things all of a sudden we had more danger. We showed more danger at that point.
Yeah.
But speaking of the lineup rotation though, so how much of it is the importance of the competition overall, and how much of it is the particular matches in the competition? Like if we were playing Manchester City in the league yesterday instead of Nottingham Forest, does he still make the same decisions, or is it more like, well, Forest is in 17th, like we can probably get by with resting a couple of these players we'd rather have in better shape, fewer minutes on their legs going into the Milan match?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, again, like the fact they're playing Forest as opposed to looking to the Europe game. What if the game this Tuesday wasn't Inter Milan but was Kairat? It was home to Athletic Bilbao, and we played away there, but just hypothetically.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that plays into it as well. The fact that Inter Milan, we'll talk about this more towards the end, right? But it's a pot one team. It's a big away game. They beat us last year, which you can tell, no one was really thrilled about. Like those things play into that as well. Again, cup semifinal, it's Chelsea, it's a derby, it's Forest, it's away to Forest. That's a game you're going to feel like you should be able to win with a rotated lineup. And even one, honestly, I guess that's kind of an interesting thing. Our midfield, I mean, Rice, Odegaard, Zubimendi is pretty much our first choice midfield. Yeah. We made the rotations up top. And then, we're still kind of working, not makeshift. Obviously, we had Saliba and Gabriel, but Ben White and Timber, it can work. But it's not what you prefer, but that's not because that was more injuries, right? Obviously, if Hincapié or Calafiori is healthy, they're playing on the left, Timber's playing on the right.
Yeah,
but we don't get that, so we're kind of moving. Those pieces around, and this was one. I mean, I noticed it a lot more, I think, on the right hand side, because we know about the successful interplay that Odegaard, White, and Saka had. It was 2 years ago now. Obviously, it's been 2 years. Ben White's coming off major injuries. He wasn't. He and Madueke didn't work quite the same way. He's not making the overlapping runs. Now, I don't know how much of that is White, how much of that is Madueke, who is, I think he's faster than Saka. But also kind of uses that to dribble himself into trouble rather than out of trouble, which he can do as well. But I wonder if that makes him a little more difficult to overlap on that side. White is certainly not slow, but different speeds and different. Still reading each other as well, but that one didn't work. Martinelli, honestly, Odegaard. We've said a lot of nice things about Odegaard the last couple of weeks. He was kind of invisible in this one, honestly, which is unfortunate in a game where we really need to kind of pick the lock of a packed team, and that's kind of what he's supposed to be able to do, and he just didn't.
Yeah, no, they shut us out of the box pretty much most of the time. Yeah, it was
certainly
tricky.
in the first half.
And
it makes it all the more frustrating when you get dangerous balls. I mean, really, the one, of course, is Martinelli's sliding across that just missed the post.
Yeah.
You also have Gyökeres almost breaking past Murillo and basically getting hauled back when he should have had a breakaway.
Frustrating. Yeah. I mean, how much of that is just like his build and he just can't move any faster?
It's an interesting one because he got away with a lot in Portugal by basically bullying some of their defenders. He's a large guy. He's a strong guy. You don't do that as well in the Premier League. And I wonder, I'd be interested to, I don't know how we determine this, but I wonder how much of that is that's the way Premier League defenders are trying to play him. They're trying to body him up and push him around and force him to be more physical in what is a more physical league. And how much of that is his own choice? He's trying to run off the defenders, and so he's using his physicality, but winds up getting kind of tangled up with them. I mean, I think we're kind of dancing around it here. Let's just sort of say it outright. This is the part of the show where we have to talk about Gyökeres, don't we?
Yeah, it's been frustrating because, like, he entered the club with high expectations over the summer. We're like, okay, this is the striker we've been waiting, what, 2 years for? Like, ever since Jesus got injured, really, is when the calls started for it. And we, okay, this is who Arteta thinks it's going to be. And, early on, we're like, okay, well, of course he's not going to score like right away. We'll give him a little bit. And then, he'd have a few goals here and there. And like, okay, he's heating up. And then he'd cool off. And then he'd start heating up again. Yeah, but it never really produced a meaningful streak. Like, not to the point where we'd feel like I don't feel the same way at this point about Jesus or Marino when we have them in that center forward position. It's like they're always close, but it's like there's more belief. They have more of a track record to draw from where we feel like, okay, well, yeah, that was good play. They'll get it next time. Whereas I don't have that confidence with Gyökeres at this point.
Well, I don't think he has that confidence either. Really, if you want to think about it, this is a game based on the way it was being played out. Maybe Marino should start up top. That was one of those that was just kind of frustrating because how many times with Gyökeres did we see him to be a step behind where he wanted to be, or where someone wanted to be and making a run? And we talked a lot. He does a lot about drawing defenders, and he certainly finished off a couple of chances as well. But I hate terms like bust, because you put so much into this. The guy is working hard, and he is doing a lot of little things, but at the same, and he's here for 5 years, so like he's got a 5-year contract. So I'm not, there's plenty of gut players who don't really come good until that second season or even later in the first. But we're now halfway through the season. I know everyone said, "Oh, he didn't get a training camp." Like, we're halfway through the season, guys. I'm sorry, that's just not an excuse anymore. And yeah, it's frustrating. With Havertz hopefully back soon, Jesus coming back. I mean, although I don't know, I wasn't super impressed with Jesus in this game either. I think honestly, Saka was probably the most dangerous player we had in this game. I thought he had a couple of good plays, created some opportunities when he came in. But ultimately, Sells made a couple of saves late, and that was, 1 or 2 saves late, and otherwise a lot of our possession didn't turn into chances, and, in the end, that was effectively all she wrote, 0-0, right?
Yeah. Sells really frustrated me. It's those things where, like, you're expecting that we're going to score because we, Liverpool last week aside, we generally have been winning most of our games this season. It's like you just think, oh, this is it, and then he leaps and makes an incredible save, and and then it happens again for another one, and it's like, okay, I guess I can see now why he shared the Golden Glove with Raya last season.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reminder of that, of course, but I think also it's fair to say, like, we got to do a better job putting shots on goal. Like, I want to be careful how I talk about this because I know I'm a little more in the discourse than you are, which is probably to my detriment, but I think that we're well past the point where I think every game needs to be a referendum on can Arsenal win the league. Like, we're 7 points clear at the top of the table. Of course we could win the league. And yes, it is very frustrating. And there are elements of this game that reveal weaknesses, and they get weaknesses in the team that make me go, that's what's frustrating. That's what's kind of like, it feels like it doesn't have to be this hard. It shouldn't be this difficult. At the same time, like, we're 7 points clear at the top of the table. Yes, we should have won this game. But I think I'm still kind of where I am when we started the like sort of throughout the rest of the holidays. If we continue to play this way, we're largely going to be fine. But it does make it frustrating when these sorts of games happen. And of course, we don't score, which, by the way, is only the third game this season where we did not score a goal. Like,
that's not terrible.
Yeah, right. Again, it feels like it should be more. It feels like we should play better. I mean, we should play better. At the same time, Forrest had 0 shots on goal. Like they're
in
just
both halves.
no, yeah, to the whole game, they had no shots on goal.
Yep.
Yeah, I again, I'm frustrated. It's an annoying game. I think it's also the kind of game that if we actually win something in May, we're not even going to remember this one happened. Like this was a hard one. We spent more time talking about the African Cup of Nations final, a game neither of us watched, than this game. You know, right?
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
yeah, it's frustrating. I think it's fair to ask questions about Gyökeres. I think it's fair to think a little bit about the substitution patterns as well. I'm trying to think what would have, sort of like we were in the Liverpool game, like what decision could we have made? Because Eze came on, and I want him to come good, but he's another guy that it just feels like he's not quite, he's kind of lost where he is at the time being. And not that he can't find it, not that he won't do good things for us this season or going forward, but yeah, just, I mean, Timber and White were okay as defenders. Gabriel and Saliba did Gabriel and Saliba things being on defense. Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Well, before we leave this match, there's one other kind of coda at the end. Like the match was almost over, and then all of a sudden, my ears perked up when I heard, "What? VAR? Penalty? Handball? What?" And they start showing the VAR replay of these two Forest players like on top of each other at the byline, one of whose arm was like jutted out at a weird angle, stopping the ball basically from going over the byline, which would have been a corner kick for us had that happened. But then there was no call, even though the VAR seemed to very clearly show that there should have been one. What happened there?
Yeah, so from what I saw, the ball hit Ola Aina, I think is how they pronounce it, hit him in the arm. You know, I don't want to overcook this one too much because it would have been a very harsh penalty. I think if you play the standard of what if that call had gone the other way, right? If we had been called for a penalty, I think we'd have all been very bothered. You know, in a sense, the contact happens apart because he kind of gets pushed by his own man. They're both going away. They're going away from goal, so it's not as if it's an attack. On the other hand, how many times have we seen ourselves picked up by the letter of the law? His arms not in his body. It hits the part of it doesn't hit that gray area. Let's put it this way: if they had called it, Forrest really couldn't have complained. But it's frustrating. It's not so much frustrating there, but it's kind of frustrating that we're in the position where
we're
arguing about whether or not, we're arguing about whether or not we should have gotten that call, and that's kind of, and yeah, I will say this too. I think if that same play happens on Tuesday in the Inter game, that is a penalty because we've seen how things get officiated differently in Europe than they do in England. So make of that what you will. But I don't, because I know it was brought up. Arteta mentioned it in his post game press conference. I'm not. I don't want to go begging for penalties like that. That was not. I think we'd be pretty mad if that had gone the other way. And so I can't be too mad that we didn't pick that up there, especially given our performance largely didn't merit that. I would, of course, have taken it, but